Hello, Sandy.
Good afternoon, Dr. Marino. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Sandy. How was your Easter celebration?
Oh, it was a blessing to have for sure. And how about
Absolutely
yourself?
beautiful. Really nice, very nice. A lot of good food and just family together and a beautiful day. Perfect weather. It was very beautiful. Yeah. Thank
I'm
you.
glad that you had a wonderful day with your family.
Yeah, it was nice. We heard mass together and then we spend the rest of the day eating. It was good food. We all pitched in a little bit. Okay. Have others joined us yet or not? Let me see. Okay. I'm wondering if I can test something. Let's see. I'm gonna put an email. Are you still there, Sandy? Oh,
Yes.
okay. What I'm gonna, Tony worked with my computer because I was trying to, let me see, what was I doing? Share a document numerous times and I was not able to do it. So he helped me install something or other. I was just wondering if I could test it with you before we start our meeting.
Roland, is Dr. Marino able to screen share at this time?
Oh, it's Roland. Okay,
Yes,
so that's
yes,
not gonna work. Oh, hello, Roland.
Hello.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen and I wanna see if this document that I have on my desktop is going to, if I can do that. So you're gonna help me with this, Roland?
Sure. So you just click on share and then you have first you open the document.
Yes,
and
I
then
did.
you have the opportunity to either share the window or the entire screen. So you'll probably want to share just the window.
Just the window, let's see. Okay, so now I have, okay, and then select the screen that I want to share.
Correct. You should have the option of selecting the screen or just the window with the document open.
Okay, so it's a Word document. Is that it? That's it, huh?
We can see a document. Yes, it looks like just a faded blue ball.
Oh,
or something like that.
it doesn't say governance consulting services feedback.
No, it's just a blurry blue ball image.
Okay. I wonder why. Okay, then maybe I still need additional support because it's not, I only have one document open on the desktop. And when I hit share, I see the document, but you don't see it.
No, we're not seeing the document. Is there another option to share something differently?
Let me see. Now I have to find you. Let's see. How do I get out of this?
There should be a stop
Return.
share at the top of the screen.
Okay, it says resume share.
If you have stopped, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not seeing the document though. It's still somewhat faded.
And how do I return to now? How do I return to the meeting?
So right above the document, there should be a stop share.
Stop share, yes. Okay. So
you're back in the meeting now.
Okay. So there's still something that I'm not doing.
Let's see. So if you had screen share, you should have just different windows to select from. You'll have desktop, you'll have Google Chrome, you'll have, depending on what you have open on your computer. So maybe you have.
It has, let's see, it has the desktop itself, and then a couple of Acrobat Word documents.
So you may have to select, is it a Word document or is it a PDF or what's the nature of the document?
It's a PDF, I'm sure, because these were the documents that we received last Saturday.
You might select the Acrobat window
Okay.
if that's an option for you.
No. Okay. I'm gonna have to go back to the meeting. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
So, okay, so I go back to. You said-
You're in the meeting right now, so there's nothing shared on your screen.
Oh, no, but I don't see anybody. Oh, do I close it? Oh, here we are. Everybody's here. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Roland. Thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Mm. Okay. Hello, Dr. Esparza.
Hello, how are you?
Fine. Are we all here? Arlene, Tony. We still need Miss Perez, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And she's
Mary-
here. She's on mute.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. I'm just finishing up some work stuff.
Arlene. No, I meant Miss
Mejia.
Mejia. Miss Mejia. I see Miss Perez. It was Miss Mejia, right?
Yes, it's just Miss Mejia that we're.
Okay. I
What?
see Marion here. Okay, we'll wait. We're still about a minute ahead, so we'll wait. We'll wait a bit. Okay, it is 5 o'clock. I know Miss Mejia will be joining us.
She just informed me that her link is not working.
Oh.
So Sandy's gonna send it over again.
Okay. How was everybody's Easter celebration?
Good.
Carolyn's laughing, huh? Okay. It was great. It was a good weekend. It was a great weekend. All right. I'm sure she'll be joining us shortly. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the El Rancho Unified School District Special Meeting of the Board of Education, April 6, 2020. I hope everyone had a beautiful, wonderful Easter celebration. And we're definitely very exciting. I just heard the news this afternoon that LA City will fully reopen June 15th. Yay, that's great. I'll read the mission statement now, the district's mission statement. Students will be challenged to become college and career ready and lifelong learners. The El Rancho Unified School District will actively partner with the community and its leading educational institution that provides a technology-rich and innovative learning environment for all students. Roll call, members of the Board of Education, Ms. Carolyn Castillo.
Here.
Dr. Joseph Rivera,
Yes, present.
Ms. Arlene Paris.
Present.
Is Ms. Mejia with us now? Yes, I see her. Ms. Esther Mejia, Turk.
Present.
Hello, welcome. Roll call, member of the Administrative Cabinet, Dr. Francis Esparza, Superintendent.
Present.
All right, the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to ask Ms. Perez to please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sorry, yes, I'm gonna keep my computer up. All right. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Perez. Thank you, Ms. Hottenberg, for joining us, and also Ms. Sorreo. And I see Mr. Janice as well. Welcome. Adoption of the agenda. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Ms. Castillo and Ms. Mejia. I'll take a vote now. Ms. Castillo,
Yes.
Ms. Mejia,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Dr. Rivera.
Yes.
Merino, yes. 5-0 to adopt the agenda as presented. Public comments, items on the agenda. Dr. Esparza.
There are no public comments at all this evening.
Very well, thank you. We now move on to our discussion items for this afternoon. We have 5A, our immediate board focus areas. And this is a discussion where everyone has the opportunity to provide input, make recommendations. If there are any differences of opinion, we certainly will listen actively, validate everyone's input, and we will come to a consensus as we have in the past. So with that, I would like to then open the discussion for the immediate focus areas. And the immediate focus areas are those areas where the governing team will be focusing for the short term. What is it that our district needs to focus on, and what is the direction that we will be providing and working with the superintendent in order to make this happen? And we, at another time, perhaps we'll have an opportunity to then have a discussion on our short-term and long-term goals. So these are the most immediate pressing that perhaps we're looking at right now, from now until probably the fall and beyond, because there are a couple of areas that we'll have to be looking at beyond as well. So having said that, I'm going to start, I'm going to open up for discussion to the board members. If anyone would like to volunteer to be first, that's fine. And what we'll be doing is, what do you see as the immediate focus areas for the district? Anyone would like to go in the discussion? I can start. Why not? Okay. If I may. So what I see as a board member, the immediate focus areas would be for our district is definitely in the fiscal area for very many reasons. I'm looking at perhaps having a financial assessment of our district, which will give us a clear picture of our fiscal status. Also, this will be inclusive of our findings on the FIGMAT audit, because we have very definite timelines, and I know that Dr. Esparza very soon will be providing us with an update on that. But this is an immediate focus area because we as a governing team are accountable to the county office. Also, we're looking at where we are now and where we most likely will be within the next 2 years. So as we see our declining enrollment, we know this is going to have a significant impact on our financial status. So within this fiscal area, we have also our bond priorities. This is a very good time to start also initiating that. We heard from Scott and Dale a couple of weeks ago that this is a good time to look at an additional series for the bond for the maximum of 35 million. So that's something within the immediate area of focus. And the second one that I see as a focus area is the academics. So I couch them under fiscal and I couch them under academics. It is as Dr. Esparza is already beginning these conversations with the staff and with the governing team about the strategic plan. We first have to, I think, revisit the LCAP, the goals for the LCAP, and see which goal, did we meet those goals or not? And then looking at the learning recovery, because that's an area we definitely need to have a focus on. We know our students, there was learning, even though we provided the resources, the teachers were there with them, there is learning loss. And I'm sure that some of you who still have children, well, Esther, Ms. Mejia is the only one that's children in the family right now, has children in school. You'll see that there is a gap that we need to focus and recover that. And then, so I'm going to stop right here and allow other members to provide your input. So I focus on the fiscal, I focus on the academics.
Maybe I'll raise my hand.
Oh, yeah.
And then continue your discussion, because on the list for board priorities, I'm looking at reopening the school in September, as was discussed earlier in the year. I'm focused on learning loss, because as we go through information, I have to admit that even in the LA Times, they had some discussion about learning loss. And so what I'm looking at is developing strategies for learning acceleration. And then we do have our financial constraints. So we have challenges for next year. And our business services, I'm looking at improvements in internal controls and systems implementation. And then our bond project. We have 2 projects now in work, which is the locker rooms and the HVA systems and the cafeterias. And we like to see completion of those, and then identification for next year's projects. And then for bond sales, and I added that, is because we need to look at 2000, toward the end of this year, for perhaps issuing more bonds based on our priorities for our new projects, to make sure we have adequate funding for it. And then also to get to see the FitMat reports and status on completing the action items. So that's what I have.
Thank you, Ms. Castillo.
Can I ask a clarifying question before?
Sure.
Are the priorities for the next school year or for a long-term, like 3-year plan?
We're not looking at right now the 3-year plan. It's the immediate. Where do we start? Where do we start? What do we need to be looking at immediately within, now, like short term?
So is that like a year or is that like 3 months? Just because for me personally, I feel like my priorities change based on the time frame.
It would be immediate, would be within the next few months. We will have opportunity as Dr. Esparza works with staff to start developing the strategic plans, but we need to also as a team have consensus on what those goals might be, because from there, and then we'll talk more in depth about this when we get to the item on the strategic plan.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Does that clarify it, Ms. Perez?
Yeah, I I feel like my goals change based on the time frame, and so I wasn't sure if these were the goals for like the LCAP long term, or if these were like short term. What do we really need to prioritize? But thank you.
And that doesn't mean that we can't articulate them. We definitely have long-term priorities as well. Yes. Dr. Spicer, you want to add to that? I thought I saw your hand. No?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, all right. Okay, so that clarifies it, Ms. Perez? All right,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, all right.
Dr.
Yeah.
Marina, if I may.
Oh, of course, Ms. Mejia.
Yeah, I agree with the areas that everyone's bringing up. Regarding the reopening of the schools, I mean, with me, it's kind of general since I know we're going to have a conversation on April 13th, but definitely I know that the district's already working on getting everything ready for when we do offer in-person instruction, but just continue to support the district on what we need for that. Additionally, I do agree, like I mentioned with your other priorities that you listed, the bond. I know that the assessment is also possibly in the works.
The what? The assess?
Yeah, the assessment for the facilities, because we do need.
Okay. Okay, I didn't hear. Okay, facilities assessment. Okay.
Yeah, and then regarding the academics, definitely maximizing the opportunities for our students. Again, I know that the district's already in the works for the summer programming. I would like to recommend that we really focus on having our communications team really promote all the opportunities. They're doing an amazing job right now, and I think that would be an area where we could also promote so we can maximize those opportunities for our students. And what else?
Ms. Mejia, can I ask a
Yes.
clarifying question, please?
Of course.
When you say promote the opportunities for our students, are you for the communication department opportunities for students in terms of what we are offering here at the district in the academics? Is that
Correct?
okay?
So, for example, if we're doing a partnership with Rio Hondo for the CTE program, that was a great program that was held last year. So to increase participation, definitely promoting that and promoting it early, like soon, if we already know the dates or just even the topics. That way, parents will have an idea of like, oh, that's being offered. Again, to maximize those opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Those communications are going to start coming out next week. As soon as spring
Awesome.
break is over, summer school opportunities are going to start coming out.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay. Is that, do you have any additional input, Ms. Mejia?
Yeah, going back to the bond priorities, I know that it's probably already in the works, but also as soon as anything is, communication team's already done a newsletter, so I'm sure that any updates will be included on the next one. So just continuing that good work that they're doing right now.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you. Dr. Rivera? Well,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Ms. Perez, did you have your hand up or you were just a while ago were you scratching?
I was just scratching. I can go after Dr. Vera.
Okay, sorry. All right, I better keep my eyes open. Maybe I should put my glasses. I see hands in me. Okay, go ahead, Dr. Rivera.
Okay. Just reflecting on what my colleagues are saying here, very kind of similar. Opening is very important. I mean, it's a obvious fact that we need to address that. I know we've been promoting on social media about El Rancho opening, and the question is when. So definitely, hopefully, I believe we'll be addressing that in another week or so, if I'm not mistaken. The fiscal. We're facing some deficits, addressing the issue with SECMAT in terms of building our business offices to be up to date, because right now we're not. ADA is an issue. There's some inequities in regards to ADA. I just mentioned we need to address that third year. But I think it's also important, I mean, we have a new CBO. It would be wonderful if our CBO can conduct a financial analysis and present that analysis to the board and just give us the straight facts. Where are we now? Where can we go? And, what can we do? What do we anticipate in the future? So we can start making decisions now. So that would be effective data that would help the board make effective decision makings in the fiscal arena. I'm concerned about academics, particularly about credit recovery and academic loss. I know that there's been some discussions in regards to summer school and addressing the needs of our children with special needs and our children with EL. So definitely, I would like to bring attention to that. And the bond, we had a couple of weeks ago, we had some people talk about the bond. I really think, and I'm not sure if it falls under fiscal, but I'm, probably fiscal and bond. But the consultant did say that the district has an opportunity to refinance the bonds and to be able to provide a tax break to our taxpayers. And I think we should be actively pursuing that to refinance the bond at a lower rate and pass on the savings to our taxpayers, because right now they're paying the top rate. And if we can refinance it at a lower interest rate, then it would be less of a burden onto them. And as well as addressing the concerns in terms of what needs to be completed in terms of the bond. I know there's been some action in terms of the windows and some other items, but we really need to start looking at what we need to do at the high school. And as I see the high school as a flagship of our district. So those are my immediate concerns right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rivera. Ms. Perez?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone, I was writing down the ones that people have already talked about. I think my number one is the governance calendar or governance plan. Understanding, for me, I feel like we need to plan out, like, when are we going to do X? When are we going to do Y? When are we going to check in? And that's why I was asking, like, if it's like a 3-month plan or a 1-year plan, because I think the reopening plan, for example, that's a huge priority, but we need to have a deadline so that staff and everybody can have time in advance to prepare. And so putting down the calendar, knowing what meeting we're going to, or, when the staff is going to be provided those details is helpful. And then I'm just looking down my notes. The other thing is the tech plan. And I don't know if it has to be a plan or if tech has to be included in the LCAP, but I definitely think technology needs a big priority, whether it's tech support, the process, the hybrid learning, everything with tech in order for the reopening plan. That's a huge piece for the hybrid learning piece. So really understanding who's in charge of what, who's responsible for what, and what are the current issues that we have. And then just like a lot of my peers talked about the fiscal piece. And also my biggest thing is the fiscal transparency, and not so much just giving information, but explaining the information. Like, I'm going to be very honest, the bond meeting, I was very confused with some of those terms because I'm not coming from that world. And I went to, it's a Georgetown educational finance course. And that was the one thing that she drilled into us, that for the community, like, it's not just about giving the information, but it's about making it very clear where anybody can understand. And so I think when we talk about these bonds and the fiscal priorities, making sure that they're very user-friendly or student-friendly, parent-friendly, community-friendly, because sometimes, if even myself sometimes gets confused by some of these terms, I think that's where the trust gets kind of lost. And then I know Dr. Rivera, I think, mentioned this before, which is what reminded me, attendance and just like losing students, looking into that, especially that's a big financial, that's where we get our money from a lot of the time. And so looking into why are we losing students, what can we do? And tying it into that, I really, really want to focus on the programs lost. So like Generation First, that's a huge, thing. that Mrs. Mejia brought up. And for me, it's the college and career readiness, like what programs and what resources were lost to students that we can get back through outside resources. And then, sorry, I'm just looking. Yeah, I think the same things that everyone talked about, the bond project prioritization, the LCAP. And I think the one thing about the LCAP different is the accountability piece, that it's not just a document that we're just going to create, but a document that we're going to review every, so often to make sure that we're attaining the goals that we set for the district. Yeah, it's mine.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Perez. Well, it's definitely, all of us are focused, we're pretty much in sync in terms of what those priorities are. And all of us talked about the fiscal, the academics, the bond, the bond projects, the priorities there. And also, you brought another piece that we need to incorporate, which is, and that makes sense, with the calendar. You mentioned the calendar, Ms. Perez. So as we'll be addressing the calendar, actually the next agenda item. That will be, because this is a calendar starting now, pretty much. So we will be including this calendar as immediate focus areas, the summer academy, the reopening of the schools. So we're already going to start there. So that's really going to incorporate what you have as your focus area. But I believe, Dr. Esparza, that this is giving you a very clear picture of where the board, where the governing team will be working with you to support you, and so that we have several focus areas, but they're really not. I mean, they're really you can really narrow them down to the reopening, the fiscal, the financial assessment, also the focus on the academics, but at the same time, because we're already talking the fall, it's looking at those partnerships and those learning opportunities for our students. So now I'd like to call on you, Dr. Esparza. How do you see, having listened to the 5 board members, how have you synthesized what we just, our discussion?
So in hearing everyone give basically their idea of what the priorities are, like you said, they're very much in sync with each other. I think it's great that Ms. Perez brought up the governance calendar, because that will really allow us to focus on everything that was mentioned here and then some throughout the year. And I know that we didn't start the year with it. I think it's good for us to be able to plan out at least the next few months of the school year, as well as the summer, and really begin to create the governance calendar for 2021, 2022, which will allow for all the priorities to be placed on this calendar. And these priorities that have been mentioned are things that everything here is in the works. Everything that has been mentioned, a department, a team, a group of leaders is working on. And so we'll be able to present a lot of this information or updates to everyone in the weeks to come, especially at our regular board meetings. Like at our next board meeting, we're going to have an LCAP update. And that LCAP update will also have information on the where we're going with technology in the district with blended learning. We will also have our new CBO begin to work with Dale Scott on some of the bond refinancing that's already kind of in the works. She's already dipped her, not just her hand, her whole arm into the ADA situation in the district. and making sure that we're going to have a third interim presentation, which again, most districts don't provide third interim, but we want to make sure that we are providing that transparency. I've also mentioned something that you mentioned, Ms. Perez, also, is that there needs to be some type of tutorials for our community members and our families to be able to understand some of the fiscal jargon, I want to call it jargon, but terms, the academic vocabulary that a lot of people don't understand, and then just putting things into terms that everybody will be able to, get some understanding. We need to be a little more sensitive to the community, and that not everybody works with numbers all day long, or finances, or bond projects, or legal lingo, and making sure that we put stuff out there to make sure that everything, again, is comprehensible. In regards to the academics and the credit recovery, that is extremely important. That is something that for CIA and myself, that is what's driving our LCAP, what's going to drive our strategic plan. And with that includes, our special ed population, our EL population. And we've also talked about possibly coming in next year or the year after with a GATE population, because we do have a gifted population in our district who have not been identified and are in need of receiving more enrichment. Not just the general education that they're getting, they need to receive above and beyond, because they're highly intellectual in different areas, not just in academics, which we would consider reading, writing, math. It's in the arts, it's in technology, it's in other areas. And so that's something that we want to also, as a district, prioritize on. We know that there is a FCMAT response document that we need to adhere to with LACO and with FCMAT. And that's something that myself and the CBO have been meeting religiously on since she started, and making sure that we're meeting all of the deadlines for that. And yes, there needs to be a financial analysis in the district, especially as we look at 2022, 2023, to ensure that we don't catch anybody off guard to say, there may be a reduction in force. Nobody wants that. We don't want that. That's what's being forecasted throughout the state. And so we need to make sure that we are, prepared to ensure that we can keep our staff on, as well as to be able to prepare if there's a change that we need to take at that point in time. So again, all of this is driven through that governance calendar, because that governance calendar, I feel, is a calendar that will help also the district shape its calendar, and a calendar that is needed. And I know I don't want to jump ahead, because there is a board item on the strategic plan that we need to talk about.
Correct. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Esparza. So are there any additional comments from the board members? None. Okay. So this immediate focus areas, it's pretty clear, right, Dr. Esparza? So yes, that it allows you to focus on in those areas and work with staff in those, because we pretty much provide an umbrella of for you to move forward. And we'll hear more on this reopening a week from today.
Okay.
Okay. So if there are no additional comments here on this focus area, we can now move to 5B, which is our governance calendar. Okay. And we all had this at the meeting of the sample calendar at the board meeting of March 27th. And I was reviewing it once again, and there are some pretty interesting in the fine print below each area, and I'm looking right now and under the student learning and achievement, we have way at the bottom, schedule presentations and progress report on curriculum implementation. This pretty much goes back to what all of us articulated in terms of a focus area, which is the academics. So we need to have those periodic reports on how it's being implemented, what's been successful and what is not, so then it could be redirected. But it is not only important for the governance team, it's important for the community and for parents to have to know this information as well. And right below that, we have scheduled progress reports about professional development implementation. This is truly something that I'm looking forward to adding it into our calendar, because our staff has certainly had the opportunity to participate in professional development, but I'm going to say that oftentimes, rarely, if any, do we have any feedback in terms of the implementation of the professional development. So that's something definitely that as professional development is provided to staff, that you, Dr. Esparza, provide an update on the implementation of such development.
Okay.
Especially those that are reoccurring year after year, which are definitely very successful. I'm just thinking right now off the top of my head, the PD out of UCLA.
Okay, the NGSS.
Yes, correct. So
I think it's important that we provide presentations on things like NGSS, but also each of the focus areas at the schools that do have those focus areas, like VAPA at Valencia and at North Park Academy, STEAM, robotics from STEAM at Burke. And if we just go through like with all the schools, not just for them to provide presentations, but for our CIA staff to give a picture and show the whole entire, collage of all the different professional developments that are offered for these specializations.
Correct. And if Sandy, if you can put back on the screen the second page, finance, that starts with finance and facilities, etc. Because under finance, this is something that's going to help all of us. The schedule, it's the fine print, schedule budget study sessions as necessary. And that's something that we've not had, right? We've not had, and it's over on your right-hand side, right under February, March, April through June. That's something that we've not had any budget studies, study sessions, or and really started looking at forming this budget committee as well. And then right below that, and this is music to your ears, Ms. Castillo, be familiar and current with the district's facilities plan and approve actions as necessary. So these, for me, these are the items that we need to have on our governance calendar, because this is how we stay informed on what's really happening in the district. So anyway, I could go on and on, but there's definitely, there's some very key, provide ongoing climate of support and recognition for superintendent and staff. That's key. That we also need, us as a governance team need to provide, and then have the conversation on the implications to the LCFF. These are things that I've been on the board for 6 years, but I've not had any information really on that. So this is going to help us to better understand and really know exactly where we are, and not only us as the board, but also the community as well. That's my input right here. Let me open it up to the other board member. Oh, I see Ms. Castillo. I see your little hand.
You probably see two little hands as I'm trying to figure out which little one to push up. I don't know. I have a comment.
Okay.
When you refer to the LCAP, I am not that familiar with what that represents because I know there were different numbers, LCAP 1, 2, 3. I would appreciate it if you could include the description of that particular LCAP item, because unless you were involved with the school or a teacher or whatever, you probably have that LCAP number memorized and marching orders to. But for those of us who've never been in the school district or a community member, they would have no understanding of what that LCAP item is or its goal. So I'd appreciate that when you refer to an LCAP, you put the description and in parentheses the number. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Castillo. Okay, additional comments from board members?
If I may,
Yes, of course.
I think this is a pretty awesome calendar. I love it. I know that Dr. Moreno, you already commented that some of these things haven't happened, but we're in the now and we're going to be doing it going forward. So I'm really excited. Thank you, Dr. Esparza, for getting this together. I know, Dr. Moreno, that you highlighted some of the what was it? Recognizing the staff. I know that there was one resolution included on here for character counts, but I would love to also have resolutions that recognize our staff. For example, in the teachers, there's an annual resolution for that. There was one for counselors last month that Linda Sanchez started, Congresswoman Linda Sanchez. So we could also include those in the calendar. I know there's one for administrators, like I said, counselors, teachers. All those would be, I mean, they deserve to be recognized. It'd be great if we could also implement them within the calendar. Additionally, I'm thinking that if we could also possibly schedule the joint meetings with CBOC as well in here somewhere. And hopefully we're able to, I know it's already in the works as far as scheduling a joint meeting with City Council, but having that also in here as well. And then I know that it was mentioned regarding the acronyms. I think that's a good idea to have those acronyms spelled out. I think that the school plan is also in here, but it's also known as a SIPSA. So that it's worded out document, but it's SIPSA could be included on there because that way people know a SIPSA is the school plan. What else? No, I think it's really comprehensive, and I know that we will be able to add other things, but I'm really excited about having this this governance calendar, and that's all that I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mejia. Ms. Perez, or yes, I see your hand.
Oh, I forgot I put it on. Sorry, it's gonna bug me to not take it off. The teacher in me loves this because I have like a personal calendar and I think everything laid out. And I think one of the things, you know, we talk about communication, and I think this is a great way to know what to expect for staff, to know when we're going to discuss what's going to be handled when. And, you know, like Dr. Esparza said, we already are doing a lot of this, but I think this is going to be another way of communicating that and, you know, talking about what is our plan. And I know I forgot who mentioned like the achievements. I think Mrs. Mejia, the achievements for like recognizing the teachers and staff. I would love to also see like the student achievements, right? Like right now, a lot of students are getting accepted to colleges. Like I would love to celebrate that. Or, you know, the way that we celebrate the decathlon team, like things like that, I think we definitely need to highlight, and kind of making sure that every, you know, students, I think every quarter they get honor roll or principal's roll. Like we need to make sure we highlight that and we emphasize that. So especially during online learning. But yeah, I love it. I definitely love calendars. So thank you for putting together.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Dr. Rivera?
On the calendar, I would like to see the ritual activities that happen throughout the year to be documented. Similar to a school calendar where you have, you know, those activities that happen every year, every month. So I would like to see that documented in the calendar.
Dr. Rivera, before you go on, can you define for me ritual activities?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
You said ritual activities?
Yeah, ritual,
Can you define it for me?
the yearly things that have to be done.
Oh, okay.
The
Graduation.
yearly rituals that we follow in terms of school opening and testing and
I get
all
it.
those activities that must happen throughout the year. So I'm
Okay,
sorry, I
thank
didn't hear that correctly.
No. It's clear. Thank you. Okay, go on, please.
That's pretty much it. That's what I would like to see on there.
Short and simple. Okay. So we heard from all board. Dr. Esparza?
No, I was just trying to figure out if you meant exactly that. Did you mean like graduations, when state assessments begin, when they end, like all the different timelines?
Correct. I mean, those items that we should be aware of, like the testing season,
Right.
Teachers Week, Classified Week, all those things that are important for the board
Okay.
to be aware of.
Okay.
I had one more thing.
Yes, of course.
Actually, I have a question. Williams quarterly report, Dr. Sparza, what is that?
So Williams quarterly report could be our Williams inspection on if we have enough books and materials for every student, or if our facilities are not up to par. We'll have a Williams walkthrough. And so we go through, make sure we don't have anything pending, anybody needing anything at a school site. And we can provide presentations on that.
Got it. Because I was looking at the calendar, but it's pretty small. Do we have on the calendar like an quarterly academic report or LCAP report?
Yes, we don't have it on this calendar. This is
Okay.
stuff that needs to be added. So just give us whatever
Yeah.
you want so that we can add that. But an LCAP presentation is going to take place. It usually takes place closer to the end of the year, but I did ask CIA to give something in advance. So they've just had their first real LCAP meeting. They're going to work with focus groups as soon as they return from spring break. They'll be having another meeting in April, and we're going to be advertising, and then their final meeting in May before it goes to board.
Got it. Yeah, I think the one thing that I kind of talked about with the priorities is like and maybe, I don't know if it's quarterly, but like a quarterly LCAP update, right? Like what goals have we met, where we are in the goals, and in conjunction with that, also academic goals, like data from students, maybe every quarter, the way we talk about finances, like I would like to also talk about the academics and every quarter giving us updates on how they're doing, what we're seeing.
Okay. And you want that quarterly?
It's up to the board. I prefer quarterly because I feel like once a year is too little, and halfway through the year, like we might not catch it in time. So maybe our priorities, maybe we need to get, funding somewhere else or something, just to kind of see what's working.
Okay.
Okay. I like to make a suggestion right now is we're looking at the calendar. Can we start looking at the calendar now? This is April, and look at May. I know it's not here, but so that Dr. Esparza has direction. So we're looking at what's going to happen in May and June, because the summer academy will start in June at the end of the program year. So we can, what I would like to see from now until summer school is the progress that is being made towards opening the summer academy for the learning recovery. But also we had talked about beginning to bring back some of our special needs students as they were coming in, before we had to close again. That I would like to see that calendar and have that information from Dr. Esparza, or that update, not information, update, but have it calendar. When will you, Dr. Esparza, be making the recommendation to start bringing the special needs students? And what is the in progress reports in terms of what is happening for the summer academy? How are the students being identified? Who will be coming? Who are the students that will be participating in summer academy, and the teachers that would want to be coming back for the summer academy? Keeping in mind that those teachers that do actually volunteer, because it's not mandatory, that they're compensated. We have COVID funding, correct? That
Yes, we do.
They're compensated properly, to make this happen. So we need to know now for, in May, I'd like to have an update. And of course, this is up to the board. If the board feels that, decides this is what we want, and have an update from now to the end of April, still early in April, and have an update again also in May, because and then have a timeline as well, and what the classes will be offering, what the goals and the intent of this summer academy is going to be. Board members? And I like to start having that, putting in the calendar now. Yes, Ms. Castillo. Ms. Castillo and then Ms. Mejia. I can't. You're muted.
Okay. I'm unmuted. We talked a little bit about the LCAP. For this last year, we moved away from the LCAP because we took on the learning continuity plan. So what I don't see on the calendar is an update or report out on how we met or did not meet those goals for the learning continuity plan. So we should know that, considering that we're at the end of the year. Because I think, like I said, it was a replacement for LCAP, but we should know what we achieved or didn't achieve. And then the second thing would be that we got COVID funding. So I'd like to, for the financial report, if the other board members agree to it, is getting a monthly report on the plan versus the expenditure. We sometimes get that with the bond, but we don't get anything on the COVID funding, and we got millions of dollars.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Ms. Mejia?
Yeah, just to continue on what Ms. Castillo mentioned, I think that is going to be addressed in the LCAP itself. When you do the LCAP, everything that you mentioned, that Ms. Castillo mentioned, is addressed as far as like what was spent and what was not spent. Additionally, for the LCAP, you mentioned the learning continuity plan. That's also going to be addressed this time around. It's going to be the learning continuity plan, I believe the 1920 LCAP, and then the 3-year plan going forward. So it's going to be really extensive, because you're talking 3 different plans that are going to be addressed and, like you mentioned, reviewed. So I'm looking forward to the information that will be provided at the regular meeting, because I think that's when Dr. Esparza mentioned. Did you have something to add, Dr. Esparza?
I just wanted to let everybody know that on the 20th, it's just an update of the LCAP meetings and the LCAP goals and where we're at in moving forward to bring these goals to board. All the data in regards to LCAP for 2020 and all of that will be presented in late May. And it'll also include the presentation for the learning continuity plan, as well as a presentation that we need to provide, which is the extended learning grant that the district has received. So this is that COVID monies that were put out to make sure that you open schools by April 1st. Even though we didn't open April 1st, we still receive funding. We received a little over $6 million of funding, and we have to present that plan prior to the end of the school year. So you're going to get a lot of presentations closer towards the end of May on where we're at in regards to the data and how we use that money.
Yeah, and my point on Dr. Marino was just to state that it's going to be forthcoming, and that way there's no additional things for staff to do right now because it's going to be done. It's mandated pretty much for it to be done. For the request that Mr. CEO has stated. I did have a question, if I may, and I did agree, Dr. Marino, with your previous recommendations. I concur with that, but I did have a question on the governance calendar. I noticed that under finance, it has the acceptance of the general obligation bond building fund, and it's in May. Usually I'm used to seeing that earlier, but I'm okay if it's going to be in May going forward. But I also wanted to see, yes.
What, Ms. Mejia, can you rephrase
Yes.
rephrase that? Because I think I kind of lost, the thread that you were,
Yeah.
the point that you were making.
Yeah, I was going back to finance on the calendar. I'm sorry if it's okay to.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if we go to the finance section,
Okay.
it lists in May, it lists the acceptance of the GOB bond fund.
Give me a second. I need my glasses. Okay, May, and we go to the finance.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I'm with you now.
So it has the acceptance of the audit there in May.
Yes,
And
yes,
I know
yes.
usually it's been done earlier, but it's okay if it's in May. But I was wondering, where's the general fund acceptance with the audit? It should be in the schedule, right? As well, in the calendar.
Yeah.
And I know that this time around it was extended because of the pandemic, but the general fund audit is usually done by December. So my question is, if the GOB audit will stay in May as scheduled, or will it be earlier as it's been done in the past? And the second question is, when adding the general fund audit to the governance calendar as well, the date for it. Did you understand what I like? So it's two things. Having the GOB audit, the general bond audit acceptance, and also the general fund audit on the governance calendar.
Okay, so Dr. Esparza, and that is done when, or maybe Ms. Serrao?
So are you wanting for the first interim, second interim, and a possible third interim?
No, I'm asking for the one that NIGRA, the bond auditors, the financial, that audit, the general fund one.
So we can provide that one. We can provide that one in May also, or in June. We have 2 meetings in June. And we can also bring it back at the beginning of the school year, because this year what they did is they moved it. It's usually completed by June. And this year they moved it all the way to the end of the fall. And so what we're getting right now is just some of the information where we have to start researching and cleaning things up, just like we need to with the attendance, so that we could present something closer towards the end of the year. Usually it's done way before. It's usually done before March.
Right. And that's why I was questioning the May date in here. But if that's because of the, the pandemic, then that's fine. But I just wanted to make sure that it was included in the calendar.
Okay.
Thank you. Oh, and if I may add one more thing, Dr. Marino.
Of course.
So under the community relations, which is, community relations, I know that, again, Dr. Esparza is already working on this, but like having a report to the community added somewhere on there, like the annual.
Annual what?
Like the district.
State of the district?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Esparza.
Sorry.
A state of the district, and this was
under community relations.
Correct. And what month were you proposing, Ms. Mejia?
That would be up to Dr. Esparza.
Yeah, that would probably have to take place during the summer.
May I make a suggestion? It's the state of the district, if I know it's tradition once a year, but given where we are right now financially, state of the year at the beginning of the program year, especially this new program year, 20, what year am I? 21, 22. But also towards the end of the program year, because right now, Dr. Esparza, you know well, this is when we need to make those decisions.
Right.
Okay. And earlier in our discussion, it came up about, the impact on staff, having to release staff. We don't want to go there. So
Right.
we need to start looking at what are the cutbacks now? What do we need to reduce our expenditures so that so it will not impact staff? Our responsibility, and I know the goal of all of us here in this meeting is to protect staff. But to protect staff, we need to make some very, very difficult decisions. So what I'm suggesting here is provide a state of the district at the beginning of the year. It'd be great to hear, we're solid, we're going to be fine. But if we're not, as we have been hearing all along, so that everyone's well aware, and then we'll see if things have improved. I will stay positive, how things have improved, how our financial state has improved towards, before the end of the year. So maybe I'm talking the third quarter, trimester.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So
Board members, I need input because
if I may, Dr.
I
Marino.
need an approval. Yes, Dr. Rivera.
Yeah. Well, I think it's more than, we need to base these on facts, and we have to base this on data to make these decisions in order to point the direction in terms of where we need to go and the decisions we need to make. So more than ever, that financial analysis is very, very important. But also, we're going to be getting the May revise from the state. And I don't know if the district has received any hints from the state or from LACO in terms of, what we're anticipating, whether the state is going to share that surplus that they have or they're not going to share it. That will come into play. And then based on the information that the board receives, then I would call in the administration to start making proposals in terms of what we need to address. And then also those more than ever than important, budget committees, so it can be transparent and evident to everyone what exactly this district is facing.
Right. Ms. Perez? Thank you, Dr. Rivera.
Thank you.
One comment and one question. So my question is, when will we be doing the governance calendar for the remainder? Or are we going to do them by year, by school year?
Well, our governance calendar should really be done yearly. So
like academically, like the academic from August to June, is that how?
Pretty much, I think, I believe. But right now, Dr. Esparza is, in the discussion we're having, Dr. Esparza now,
Yes.
we're providing direction to Dr. Esparza and what the board would like, the updates the board would like to hear, so that now you're going to start entering this into the calendar, right? Dr. Esparza?
Right.
Okay.
And these are items that, like with the academic piece, it's easy because you and I as teachers,
Right.
we calendar everything. But when it has to do with the financials, I think that's where it gets a little messy, because there's different deadlines and different audits take place. And I think that we need to be a little more transparent with all the audits that take place, not just external audits, but internal audits too. And so we'll put all of that on the calendar.
Right. So I believe, go ahead, Ms. Burris, go ahead, please.
Oh, no, I say, so based on that, I guess my one comment would be to make sure we have, like, whatever the deadline is, right? By June, we'll have the next governance calendar, or by July, whatever that date we decide, just so that we're not running into the same issue where, next year it's September, we're coming up with a governance calendar. Like whatever consensus we agree on, by what's a deadline that we have to come up with a draft. And then my second thing, I was trying to look, where is that, like the reopening plan, COVID / academic, right? Like the hybrid learning that's going to happen, whether in the summer or whether in the fall or whatever. I wasn't sure if I saw that on the calendar.
That's for next week's meeting. That's something that we're presenting at next week's meeting on April 13th.
Okay, and so that would be including like facilities updates and
Mhm.
like
Yes.
making sure that, okay, just making sure. Because I didn't see
So
it on
it's
the
gonna be-
calendar, so I just wanted to make sure. Or is that part of the school, you put something, a school plan for student achievement? So I wasn't sure if that was that.
No, the SPSA. So with an SPSA, this is where the school site gets their budget and they have to basically put their school site plan together, which is their goal. It's kind of like the LCAP for each individual school. And they put it together to ensure that they implement the data to let us know why do they need a DLC, why do they need a substitute pay, why do they need all these different items at their school site to be successful. And so every single school has an SPSA.
Got it. Thank you. That was it.
And what we're trying to do is align the LCAP, the SPSAs to the LCAP along with the strategic plan, because it doesn't make sense to have all these different plans with all these different goals. So CIA has been working to do that with our educational cadre.
And we're all
Thank you.
clear on SPSA, right? What it is.
Now I am.
Okay, Ms. Castillo, you read them all from beginning to end for all schools. Of course, you know SPSA. Thank you. Thank you. So, okay. So Dr. Esparza, so right now we have on our calendar for April, starting with April next week, you will be providing in our next board meeting to the community, to parents and the community, the reopening plan for the district, correct?
Yes.
So we're starting now with this calendar now, Ms. Perez. And then you will provide it to the board and to the community an update on the summer academy and the students with special needs starting to return to the district.
And yes, and on April 20th, we also have a board meeting. So there's going to be a lot of information provided.
So what I would like to see is a hard date or a timeline, forget the hard date, a timeline on when our students, our special needs students will be returning in person physically to the classrooms.
Okay.
And I just wanted, I just wanted to follow up on what Ms. Perez said about the calendar. We really don't have a deadline by when we need to develop this calendar. I think the calendar will be adding to the calendar as I see it, as I envision it throughout the year, that we need to have these conversations and ask Dr. Esparza to provide this information, or as programs, projects come along, to provide updates and information to the board, to parents, to the community. So I think it's an organic document where we will be adding to it. There are some very definite dates that we can put at the beginning, as Dr. Rivera said earlier. What was the word you used? Ritual activities. The budget reports, right? The LCAP reports, because all these have hard dates, timelines. So that automatically is entering into the calendar. Okay, is that?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any additional input in terms of the calendar?
Oh, sorry. If I,
Miss Mejia, but I really didn't hear consensus from the board in terms of what I asked Dr. Esparza to provide us an update on when the students are coming back, the special needs students. Also, when will you, Dr. Esparza, be providing an update on the status or the development or whatever you're working on for the summer academy? This is something that I put on the table, but we need to have consensus from the board. So I guess we could say you're in agreement, just shake your head, say yes or thumbs up.
If I may, Dr. Marino, I was under the impression that for any reopening was going to be discussed on the 13th. I'm okay with giving direction, but it's just making sure that it's addressed on that day. That's my suggestion. And then with the other one, I believe that Dr. Esparza is already going to give us an update on the summer. That's already also in the works. So I'll shake my head, yes, with those comments.
Okay, all right. Because like I said, this is a board consensus. Okay, Dr. Esparza, are you clear? Are you good with that?
Yes, and so next week we'll be talking more about our road to reopening as well as summer school and what the summer academy would entail. Okay.
All right, thank you. Okay, is there additional input on this item of the governance calendar?
I just have a question.
Yes, of course.
Oh, sorry. Where would it live? On the site?
I'm sorry?
Where is the document going to live on the website?
Dr. Esparza?
Yes, it should live on the website. We can put it under the information where all the board is there, as well as create like a little icon for people to click on the governance calendar.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Can we move on now? Yes.
I did have my
I'm sorry, Ms. Mejia.
That's okay. That's okay. So I noticed that we have the board evaluation also included on the calendar already, and I think that that's like this month, pretty much according to the calendar. It's under, where is it at?
Active governance.
Effective governance, July.
This conduct board self-evaluation and develop action plan April, May. Under effective governance.
Okay, so this is something that you added, right, Dr. Esparza?
This is something that it's CSBA. It's CSBA.
Is that okay? Let me.
That's their calendar, the CSBA calendar.
So what's here is what's in the calendar. I like this. Board self-evaluation. This is my 6th year on the board. Never done it before. Good. Okay, let me go to that. Give me a second. Goodness, effective. I don't see it on the. Hang on.
It's on the first row.
No, I'm looking at the sample school district governance.
So above it, it says CSBA event, but then there's a line underneath, and then it has the conduct board self-evaluation underneath that. Under the sample CSBA governance calendar.
Sample effect. Ah, I see it. Okay. I need a magnifying glass. I see it. Thank you for indulging me, walking me through this. Okay, so this means that. Okay, I have a comment here. Conduct board self-evaluation and develop an action plan. with the exception of Ms. Castillo and myself, you're all new. Now, especially Ms. Perez, we can conduct a board self-evaluation from June to say the end of May, if the board is in agreement. And we need to develop this self-evaluation tool. I've never seen one. I'm sure there's one out there.
Well, if I may.
Yes, of course, Dr. Rivera.
There was nothing really in the formal, but usually after June 30th, when the business of school was completed, around July, the board in the past did talk about past accomplishments, challenges, how we went about it, what worked, what didn't work. It was never really documented, but it was something that was shared with the superintendent, and therefore the superintendent would work with that. And but perhaps it's just my suggestion is that perhaps we let the school year finish first, and then in the summertime we can sit down and reflect upon what worked, what didn't work, what can we do now, what can we do better in the future.
So within what you're saying is then move this to June/July.
Yeah, with the conclusion of the school year, so then we can, honestly say, hey, this was accomplished by June 30th. This was accomplished by June 30th. There's still, we still have 3-4 months of a lot of work ahead of us. Just our meeting schedule alone for this month is what, 3 or 4 meetings, Dr. Esparza?
Right.
So I think we need to deal with the business of hand, get through it, get it accomplished, and then reflect on what we did, and then look towards an assessment of what made us successful. What didn't work again, what worked, what didn't work again. So just my suggestion on that.
Well, and I agree with that, because this will give Ms. Mejia and you, Dr. Rivera, a full year on the board. And it will give Ms. Perez half a year on the board. So we certainly, and we're making very critical decisions right now. So if we move this to say July, towards the end of July, we'll be able to conduct a more comprehensive board self-evaluation. So if you're in agreement, we'll move this to July.
I would do it as early July as possible, because school starts, in August.
Correct.
So we want to get that completed before school starts.
So we go to early July.
Yes.
Okay.
Dr. Marino, if I may.
Of course, Ms. Mejia.
Yeah, I'm fine with that recommendation, and I just want to make sure that we have ample time for that. So maybe some type of board retreat or something that we can do, so we can really reflect.
Yeah, very good suggestion. And that retreat will then need to be conducted in June, because we're looking to have this board self-evaluation in early July. So it would be, so now we can schedule in June a board retreat, right? Okay. We'll work on that, Dr. Esparza, the board retreat.
We'll be having a retreat with my staff too, with cabinet and business services directors.
In June?
Yes.
Okay, then you schedule yours and we'll schedule our board retreat, and yeah, good suggestion. Thank you.
Can I say something?
Yes, Ms. Perez.
And I know you mentioned that you've never done before, but CSBA does have like a lot of tools for self-evaluation, as well as this program that I did. They have one from Bellwether, and it's like research-based. It's some of the top school boards, and it's an entire Excel sheet of how to measure ourselves. So there are a lot of tools out there that we can look at and ask CSBA.
Okay, thank you. All right. Anything else here that we need to move? or we need to add? Okay.
Like you said, it's a living document, Dr. Marino.
Yes.
So I think this is a great start.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've already had a good discussion. We've added some items on the agenda. Dr. Sparsa took copious notes of this. and then we'll continue to update it and modify it as needed. Okay.
If I can make one suggestion.
Yes, Dr. Sparsa.
And I know this goes back to Ms. Perez and what she's brought up in the past is to put on the calendar a date at some point, possibly in the summer or in the beginning of the year, to bring a student onto the board, to have student representation on the board.
Yes, I think that's absolutely, that's right. You did bring it up, Ms. Perez. You know,
It was from Dr. Sparza. I will give credit for her because that's what they did in Boston. So that's where I got it.
Okay. You know, that's true. This month we're having 3 meetings, right? Dr. Esparza, can we get a raise?
Can I?
Can we get a raise? Oh, can I? Oh, I guess we stay with our 200 plus a month, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Can we move on? Yes, Ms. McCann.
I just wanted to have a follow-up question on the recommendation about for the bringing a student along. Are you asking for a student board member?
Yes. So
Yes,
it's somebody who sits, it's a student, and this is again what Ms. Perez said. We've talked before. We had students, two representatives, and one would always sit on the dais, and they were from our local high school in Boston, and they were part of the discussions. They weren't part of the any board approvals, but they always just put information out there that they knew the district needed to know about. And so it wasn't so much just the ASB reports, it was somebody who is pretty much taking on governance within the entire district as a student.
Yeah. And the reason I asked Dr. Sparks is I'm familiar with it because my daughter actually looked into that. She did do they had a workshop for that. And it's an actual process. You have to have the student collect so many signatures, and it's like you said, they're actually part of the governance team. I brought it up as well when we were doing the org chart. Remember that when I said, oh yeah, the students that with the board members, so I'm familiar with it. But yeah, I think that's a great idea, and definitely looking forward to having that.
Go ahead, Dr. Rivera, and then I'll go.
Oh, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, and you know who would be a good resource to help us with that? We have the best of both worlds. It's Mayor Elias, because he's in city council, but he had, okay, help me with this, Ms. Mejia, junior court?
Yes.
Teen court.
Teen
court.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I attended a few of them. These students were phenomenal. And so I think he certainly can support us and make some recommendations there.
May I make another recommendation? So I remember the organization now that the workshop that my daughter attended for all that. It's Ed 100 is the organization, and they're going to provide that workshop again in the summer to have
Ed 100?
all the Ed 100.
Okay.
So ED and then 100 is the organization that did that, along with I believe it was National PTA was also involved in it. But it's a good resource.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay.
And I just wanted to share that.
How about you, Dr. Rivera?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. That came up in the past, and the concern that was shared in the past was that the concern that it is a weeknight where we hold our meetings, and the board did not want to interrupt the students' homework time or academic time or sports time, and having them, you know how our meetings go lengthy. So that was the concern, that if the, that's why when we have the students give their talk at our meetings, they give their talk and then they're excused afterwards, because it is expected that they are, you know, they have schoolwork to do, they have assignments to complete, or, you know, they're doing some sports activities. So just keep that as, you know, a consideration if we move forward with that, to be considerate of their school time or any type of sports time that they put into that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rivera. A couple of things came to mind right now before we move on from the calendar. What we have been discussing, you're going to enter into a calendar, right, Dr. Esparza?
Yes.
Okay. So here if you would also enter the superintendent's goal and expectations, the informal midterm review, of course, the final review, and then you have some meetings in between.
Okay.
Okay. And then, of course, you will need to meet with CBOC so we can schedule those joint meetings as well. Now we're in the process. Yeah, we're in the process of forming this partnership with the city. So that's something else that once we solidify that, will also need to be calendared.
Right.
Right. And then in the past, we had last year, we had a discussion on the org chart as we were reorganizing ed services. And so, but any discussion on the changes to the org chart, I believe, will need to take place April, May. Right, Doctor? Any more board members? I remember this from my previous life when I was still working, that changes to the org chart take place in the spring for the following school year.
They're planned during the spring to be implemented July 1st.
Yes.
Well, at the beginning of the new program year. So this is the time. And I believe there's a discussion that needs to be held, if not on the 20th, because not on the agenda, but very soon. And just very briefly, last year as we were looking at the restructuring of ed services, the recommendation came up about moving to lighten your burden, Dr. Esparza, to lighten your burden, to move some of the supervision and evaluation of the principals under the two directors.
Okay.
Because at that time by the time we finalized the org chart and the two directors were approved, you had already had the pre-conference, the goals and objectives, and probably the first conference, you had already met with most of the principals.
Yes.
And it would be very disruptive because we have, new directors coming on board, colleagues. And so now they've had an opportunity. It's been a very strange year, but they had an opportunity to work with them. So that's something that we need to revisit probably in May, if the board is in agreement. Or not, or leave it as is. Okay. Do I see yes? No? Dr. Esparza needs direction, board members. Okay, I'm gonna call it by name. Ms. Mejia?
I'd actually like to hear how things are going right now.
Can you clarify
yeah,
that?
Yeah, because right now we have, I think I'm okay with having a discussion, but having a discussion in May, but also I would like to see how the school year went as far as with the way things are being done right now with the current. Let's evaluate how the current org chart works before making changes. This would be my suggestion. But definitely having that discussion in May, like you stated, I'm fine with that.
So before, okay, let me see if I understand you, just checking for understanding.
Sure.
It is about how did it go? How was it this year in terms of the current org chart?
Yes.
Before we start discussing whether we should move we should change it.
Yes.
Is that okay? So this will need to take, and again, this was a very different year because everything was remote, and Dr. Esparza, you did follow through with all of the principals, all the administrators, but you have a good point, Ms. Mejia. It is, how did it work? And then of course we need to hear from you, Dr. Esparza.
And so that, right, and that's something that I would like to present on, but I would also, if the board feels that it needs to go a different route, that would be something that would have to be negotiated with our union, with ERUSD.
Before any changes are made?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Because it's always been, I believe, in the ERUSD contract that the principals are supervised and evaluated by the superintendent in small district. This is a small, in LA Unified, that doesn't happen. They have a whole floor of people who evaluate.
Right, and it doesn't happen in Laco either.
Right. But in all the other Whittier districts, all of the superintendents evaluate their principals.
Okay, okay. Well, the intent here is to lighten the load and allow you to, focus wholeheartedly and more so on all of the priorities that we've talked about and that we will be talking about as we move on to the strategic plan. It's really intended to support and help you, but we definitely need to get the status, get an update on this, and then revisit it again.
Okay.
And of course, you just brought up something else here, that it is in their contract. It is part of the ERUSD contract. So definitely ERUSD needs to weigh in as well. Okay, all right. Anything else? Board members? Okay. Can then we move to the last item? I think so. Okay. Item 5C, strategic plan. Well, we already talked about the calendar, but this is the calendar timeline for the strategic plan and metrics.
Dr. Marina,
Dr. Rivera, yes.
is it possible still to bring up one of the gold areas that I overlooked? I was thinking about the high school swimming pool.
Is that, what do you mean by one of the goal, immediate focus areas?
Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna say yes, point of privilege, because it's not an action item.
Well, yeah,
And that's one of your main focus areas?
One of the things that I know that Dr. Esparza is doing with Congresswoman Sanchez is that I believe she's putting out there that money is available to the school district to pay for projects at the district.
Yes.
And I based on our board updates, that's happening. But what I would like to suggest is that if we're going to pursue that pool, some funds for the pool, that there should be a lobbying effort behind it. We need to get our community behind it in order to bring it to the attention of the Congresswoman that this is an important project for our school district. $40,000 for a swimming pool is not cheap. And if she's able to provide, even half of the funding or more, that would be wonderful. But I think that as a school district, we really need to lobby that effort in order to bring that to attention, to share with her how important that is to our community and to our students. That's all I wanted to say on
that. Thank you, Dr. Rivera. So this is one of your immediate focus areas, that funding that potentially is available for us, and really promoting it out there.
Yeah, we need to lobby it. I know the city has asked letters of support from us to support their efforts, and we need to do the same. We need to get letters to her and have our community members send letters to her, all the organizations to support us, including our local officials, assembly representatives, senator, representatives, to bring it to her attention, to hopefully that she'll be able to support and fund this effort. It's really, really important for us as a district.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Rivera. All right. So
Thank you.
Okay, so then let's move on to 5C, the strategic plan. And our conversation here will be pretty much a preliminary discussion. I was reading the documents that we received in our packet, but of course it's on the website as well, the strategic plan. And this is really interesting as I was reading it, because the strategic plan informs the development and the evaluation of the LCAP. And this is where it connects, this is for the benefit of Ms. Castillo, because she's very well versed on a whole lot of things, but this will help her better understand the LCAP, that the strategic plan informs the development and evaluation of the LCAP. And the LCAP informs the development of the student plan for the SIPSA for student achievement, the school plan for student achievement, okay? And the strategic plan needs to have coherence across all this, because all of them actually come together. So it also provides the structure, and it provides that clarity for all of these broad programs that we have, which is the LCAP, the SIPSA, and so forth. I also reviewed our vision, and that's something that all of us will need to revisit, because I'm not certain, and maybe Ms. Mejia, when our vision was created, but our vision reads, El Rancho Unified will be a district that provides an innovative and excellent education that fosters achievement and success for all. So I believe that as a governance team, we need to rethink, because it is the responsibility of the board to provide that vision for the district. And if this vision is still meets where we want to see the district go, then we keep it. If not, then we need not just us five, but we need to look at maybe developing another vision. So I'd like to hear from the board in terms of how you see our vision and also our strategic plan.
If I may.
Yes, Ms. Mejia.
So to answer your question, I believe that was done back in 2018. But the thing is that there was no stakeholder input back then. And I do think that we should revisit it, but with stakeholder input.
Absolutely. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah, we need to have ownership, and everyone needs to own it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it definitely is something that I think should be revisited.
Okay. All right. Ms. Castillo?
Yeah, I agree with Mrs. Mejia. The plan that was presented failed to include our stakeholders and community members. And they're critical in the development of a strategic plan. And the other thing that happens, or at least in my experience, is that in developing a strategic plan, you look at the future. And I think that's why it's important to revisit the vision, because you want your vision to reflect a 10-year timeline. A 10-year timeline is typically what normal vision plans or strategic plans look at. That's long-term. But you also look at different horizons. You look at a 2-year plan, you look at a 5-year plan, and you look at a 10-year plan. And the 2-year plan is basically to sort of get started and start working to something now and next year. Whereas the 5-year plan makes sure that you're aligned correctly. It can always change over the course of the plan. So I have a question for Dr. Esparza, is what do you envision the school district will be looking like in 10 years? You can look at 2, 5, and 10 years, because theoretically our alignment has to say that our activities are set to meet our goal or a vision over a period of time.
Right. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Castillo. Anyone, any other board member? Ms. Perez, Ms. Mejia? Yes? Ms. Perez?
Yeah, thank you. I agree with Mrs. Mejia about we need stakeholder input to see where we are and where we want to go. The one thing that I would love to see, we talk a lot about technology in 21st century, but I think the biggest thing for me is a very personalized learning experience where students, you know, it's not just some students don't want college, some students want another opportunity. And so how do we provide the opportunity? How do we personalize this, their education, right, from a very young age, and not putting that solely on staff and teachers, but you know, it's a team, right? Parents and everyone buy in. And so that's why I agree stakeholder input is so important, because of the buy-in and the ownership. And it's not just something they have to do, but something that they want to do. But yeah, I think that personalization, technology rich opportunity piece really intrigues me.
Okay. Dr. Rivera? Dr. Rivera?
Yes, just having a little problems here, getting unmuted here. Okay, so with any strategic plan, you need data, and you need a significant amount of data. Now, you have to remember that the purpose of the school district is to provide an academic program. So for our school district, our emphasis should be the academic program. That should be our first and foremost. The strategic plan drives the academics, starting, you know, from preschool all the way through high school. And I would say, since we're committed educators, making sure that our students transition to higher education or some type of trade. I would like to see the strategic plan focus on that, you know, and it be driven data. In the past, I have shared that we did have benchmark testing. You know, we followed the students, we test the students to see where they're at, and it would tell us where the students were every quarter, rather than waiting to the end of the year and discovered, oh, you know, we had some weaknesses here and we had some strengths here. By doing that, we can correct it throughout the year. I also am a believer, you know, I was here when the Generation First program started with El Rancho. And I think it's important that we emphasize education starting with our kindergartners, and to ensure that at least one family member or more goes on to college, that El Rancho makes a commitment that, you know, if you're going to come through our program, that everything we do is going to lead for you that leads to the next step in your life, whether you go into an academic program or a trade program. So data, we have the data is in place, the data is in areas. You know, we can extract that data. From that data will tell us where we need to go academically. We're very, very fortunate. We have 2 capable educational directors who've been with the district and who can lead us in that effort. So first and foremost, I would dedicate the strategic plan to our educational program. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rivera.
If I may,
Yes. Ms. Perez?
Oh, I don't know. I just wanted to add to Dr. Rivera, when he talks about data, also taking a look at the California dashboard, using that also as a data point, because that's very, objective, and using those data points to see how are we going to increase those as well.
I would agree with that, but if the district can do their own testing, that'll give us the real raw scores that we need, because it's data that we are collecting as a district level versus a state. Because remember, with the state, they have a formula. We don't have a formula. We're getting the data directly from our students, and that in turn will tell us where we need to focus our attention. So we can that would be part and parcel to the total data that we need.
Can I make a comment, Dr. Marina?
Dr. Esparza, Ms. Mejia.
And in regards to the strategic plan that we have right now and the focus areas, and I know, Ms. Castillo, you asked a question, and where will we be from 10 years? That's a loaded question. But for right now, what I know that we need to do is that every one of these focus areas, like academic excellence, global citizenship, and multilingual success, college and career readiness, should be, what are those actions? What are those KPIs for TK, for kindergarten, for first grade? We should know exactly what we're doing to get our students to be successful in these focus areas by grade level. And that would include making sure that we have a full metrics, a full data dashboard, like Ms. Perez and Dr. Rivera have talked about. That's internal, and making sure that we're able to track our students, every single one of them. I've also talked to staff, and this was prior to COVID, about the ICP and the IGP, the individualized culmination plan and the individualized graduation plan. And these are, they could be called just documents, but we can make them live, and we can put them onto a platform where each of our counselors will really have that opportunity to meet individually with each of our students. And our teachers will be able to get their hands in there to be able to see if students are really meeting their culmination requirements, and what are those extras, what are those enrichment opportunities that we should probably be providing them, as well as what are we doing with our individualized graduation plan. Our special ed students have an IEP, and from the birth of their IEP, they are followed all the way throughout their education, even as they transition. And there is nothing in the system right now where we can say that we've put all of this together for one student, except for basically the data information on ARIES. And that's, a lot of it's qualitative. I think we need to add, quantitative. I think we need to add the qualitative piece to it. And so there's a lot that we'll be doing throughout the summer. And that's why I need to have this retreat with staff, so that they understand that we need to dig deeper and provide a little more, so that when somebody looks at a report card for first grade, and I don't mean a one student report card, the actual report card for all of first grade in El Rancho, they see all of this on there.
If so, is it possible, Dr. Esparza, that the administration can develop some type of scope and sequence outline in terms of that? One of the things that I have heard from teacher and parents is the
Dr. Rivera, if you could just hold your thoughts.
Can you hear me?
If you could just hold your thoughts, because I believe that Ms. Mejia had her.
Oh, did I step on somebody's time? I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Ms. Mejia?
That's okay. If you'd like to let him continue, that way.
It's okay. Go ahead. Thank you.
And I'll go after you, Dr. Rivera.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. No, I just simply was just saying that, we've heard from teachers and we've heard from parents that there's been some lack of preparation when the students transition, from third grade to fourth grade. And that's just an example that, some of the parents have said that they found some of their students not prepared for the next level. So there needs to be that, professional relationship between those grade levels where they integrate and talk to each other, where, they're going to take the curriculum from the third grade all the way to, the beginning of fourth grade, but that articulation needs to be taking place between our grade levels, so then we can have a continuum and build on that scaffolding of learning that'll lead our students to the next step. So, if it's possible to get some type of outline that provides a scope and sequence to all of that, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
That's
Thank you, Ms.
exactly.
Mejia.
We have talked about that, the vertical articulation piece for each and every grade levels, beginning at TK.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Esparza and Dr. Rivera. Ms. Mejia, thank you for allowing me to speak.
No problem. So I just wanted to touch upon what Dr. Rivera has said about it being data driven. I know Dr. Esparza had her academic meter that she's working on as well. I mean, it's not working out. She has one, and she's going to continue to do that. But making sure that we have data and inform our decisions is very important. But also, another point that you made, Dr. Rivera, was the vertical articulation. So we talked about grade levels, but we also have to talk about programs. Because, for example, you have some schools that are AVID. That's their thing, AVID. You have some schools that are VAPA. You have STEAM, where they do project-based learning, but then after that, it just drops off. You have STEAM, who has robotics, and there are some programs at our Rancho, but not per se a robotics team. You have Durfee Elementary, who also specialized, but what happens after that at the next level once those kids move on? So also looking at the vertical articulation and programs for the students, I think is important. And then I know we talked a lot about academic excellence. I totally believe that, but I also believe that the district's doing a really good job on the social emotional component, and we really need to continue to focus on that as well, the whole child, academics, but that social, especially right now during these times, during the pandemic, it's important for us to continue to build upon that. I know that Student Services does a really great job with that, offering a lot of programs, but that should also be a focus within the strategic plan. I also wanted to add, I'm glad to hear that we'll possibly revisit the mission and the vision, but also having core values, guiding principles is very important. I really liked some of on the superintendent's message, what Dr. Esparza has in here. She talks about having a focus on educational excellence, equity, and innovation. And the innovation part could be part of what Ms. Perez has mentioned, the technology piece, the innovation technology. So there's a lot of good things in here that we could use, but definitely refining it and focusing and having those key performance indicators that Dr. Esparza mentioned. It's important to make sure that there's accountability and that we're hitting those goals. We talked about SMART goals before as well. And just also just making sure that it's a living document and that we continue to revisit it and that it's not just shelved.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Mejia. Ms. Perez?
Yeah, sorry, just so taking a step back. So the strategic plan sets, I'm still trying to understand like the strategic plan and the LCAP, right? LCAP are technically the SMART goals and like the priorities, and strategic plan is just like, that's what I'm still trying to understand a little bit more.
So the strategic plan offers the vision, the mission, the core values, and all the focus areas in the district. And the strategic plan was created by the previous superintendent and some of the staff, as well as some of the board members, some former, some that are still with us. And the LCAP is, the strategic plan is for the community. It's for the district. It's for the parents. It's for us to be able to identify what are our strengths and weaknesses and where we need to improve and how we're going to do that. This strategic plan doesn't offer how we're going to gather those metrics. And so we want to be able to add all of that in. I think there's a lot more that this group, not just this new board, but this new cabinet would like to put their hands in and make sure that they're working with staff to really, strengthen what the strategic plan could be. But it's not a document that needs to be submitted like to the county or to the state, where the LCAP is, and the LCAP goals that we that we choose as a district need to be identified based on data. And it also needs to align with the dollars that we use for certain programs, especially for our EL programs, our special ed programs, our homeless and our foster youth. And so that's something that must be submitted. And the strategic plan is something that it can live in a district for as many years. And like Ms. Castillo said, it could be something that we identify as a 10-year model and come back every 2 years to 3 years to update it. Whereas the LCAP, you need to have this going on yearly, have certain set meetings. There needs to be criteria set for each meeting. Certain stakeholders need to be involved in those meetings. All that data needs to be gathered and put as a part of the LCAP so that that is turned into the county and you've met that compliance metric.
And so for this, actually before I was, the strategic plan that we're talking about, it's something that we're going to develop new, or are we going based off the one that was the 2018?
So
we're going to create something new?
So
I just want to make sure this is clear.
So what we want to do is update it. And I know it says from 2018 to 2023, but it really started to get into the hands of folks late in 2019. And so a whole year had passed before it was really put out into the community. And as we've had COVID, it's been, kind of stagnant for another year. And so it's time to really look at it and update it. And especially as we have a new board and we have a lot of new staff and a new actual Office of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, they really need to help out with leading some of this work.
So, sorry, because I just want to make sure.
No, go ahead, finish, please. We need
what is the timeline for us to develop strategic plan? Because I'm assuming we're not going to, if we want stakeholder input, we're not going to do it at this meeting. So like, what is the timeline for us to, finalize it? Or I know it's a living document, but at least the first draft.
And so some strategic plans can take up to a year to write. You have to gather the data. I don't think we would take that long. There's a lot of data to gather, and there's a lot of items that need to be either updated or removed. Things that are pertinent that we have in the strategic plan. And again, it's something that, the board approves. So it's a plan that we need to create within the district with stakeholder input from students, parents, all the different committees, staff, and a lot of teacher and classified staff are paraprofessionals, as well as in the areas where we talk about facilities and things of that nature, having those individuals that work in those areas also be a part of it. So it's not just a document with a selected few in the district, it's really open to everyone.
So, sorry, last clarifying question, because
ahead,
I thought that the LCAP was based on the strategic plan. And if the LCAP's due in June, don't we have to get the strategic plan done sooner?
So your LCAP goals are for 2 years. And
Okay.
so you really shouldn't change those LCAP goals. And the LCAP goals are based on some of the items that have been taken from this strategic plan. So this strategic plan would be for next year.
So the LCAP, so like the LCAP goals that we're setting in June, those are going to be based off of which strategic plan, the 2018 or the one you're presenting?
It's going to be off of this one, the 2018 to 2023 one.
And do we, like as a board, do we have to approve that before we?
The LCAP, yes.
No, the strategic plan, like who?
Yes.
Okay, and when is that going to take place?
That's something that's still in the works.
Okay, sorry, I just
this is the initial discussion. This is the
Okay.
initial discussion, so there's no calendar. And this is why it states in there, my proposal, it states proposal in there. So the proposal is going to be that exactly the same type of calendar that the governance calendar reflects, the Rancho calendar. I'd like to create a strategic plan calendar so that we can make sure that as we begin to update it, that we also identify when do we meet the certain metrics to meet the certain focus areas.
Mhm.
So then, I promise this is the last one. Is
Yeah.
it possible to display or are you not proposing that today? Like, cause I know that like I can see the proposal, but I wasn't able, like, I don't know if the public's able to see the proposal.
No, there's the proposal is for us to create a calendar to update the strategic plan.
Okay, sorry, I got very confused. Thank you. I'm gonna process.
Well, no, and you need to ask those questions. You need to have clarity, and I hope you do. But you need to ask as many questions as you have. But it's true. You just what Dr. Esparza, her last statement was to update what we already have. There's some elements here that can be
Yes,
used.
a lot of it.
I can update it. Ms. Castillo has her hand up, and then I'll go.
Okay, I'm gonna get, am I unmuted? Okay. I do believe the strategic planning process, from what I've read with other school districts, is a 5-month process. So it's nothing that happens overnight. It's probably less than a year. And part of the I wouldn't say part of the problem, but part of the process is getting the information, getting some surveys out to your stakeholders, and then getting engagements from different organizations within the district to understand what their, number one, proposing or what their vision is of what their future looks like. And so it takes time to do that. Now, one of the concerns that I've always had with this plan, the strategic plan, is the focus areas are fine, not an issue. I think they're good. The other one is that I think that what I see are statements and not goals. And so when you see a statement, there's nothing that's actionable to show that you're improving something or meeting a goal, because that's why you have the 2, 5, 10-year time frame, because what you want to do is describe what your vision is for that activity, and then be able to come up with action plans to improve it. So that at a point in time, you can look at your strategic plan in 2 years, 5 years, just, did I do what I planned? Did I do what I said I was going to do? And that's really what the question is. In 5 years, did I improve the academics of the students by showing improvement in scoring of these measurements? That's really the thought process of it. And so it's something that everybody gets involved with to understand where their decision making and where their role is to improve the outcomes for the students and also for the district. So I just wanted to get that through, because I like I said, I believe the focus items are good. I think there are too many items under the focus area. I think that you can consolidate it or make it something that you can deliver. So that was my other suggestion, because in some cases you have 10 or 15, others 2 or 3. You have to make it manageable, that you can actually accomplish something. And too many, just you lose sight of what your real objective is. And that's to give you the roadmap of how you want to operate in the future. So maybe what I could do, and this is maybe moving forward, is giving you some thoughts or some input on different things that probably will fall into this strategic plan, so at least you have an idea, at least from what some of the things could be done. I don't really have what focus areas it goes into, but these are the things that I've been thinking about that might help our strategic thinking. And part of it is student learning has changed. That means that the curriculum has to change and evolve over the next few years. Okay, and then that means that all students, because they all have their laptops and their Chromebooks, they're now tech savvy. They've learned how to operate their computer, how to get into Zoom and Google Classrooms. And now we know that blending learning is here to stay. So we're going to figure out how do we change our curriculum to enhance that. So that's just a thought. And the other one is, from what I've been reading, is that digital fluency is the new skill that everyone needs. And so that means you have to understand your Microsoft Office words, but you also have to go into AI, artificial intelligence. So those are just something to think about. And then the other one is facilities. You know, we have a declining enrollment. We have vacant classrooms, and we're focusing on improving our district facilities. But in doing that, we may have to consider some facilities consolidation in the 5-year timeframe. And the reason why facilities is a 5 or 10-year timeframe, it takes that long to make those changes happen. And then the other one is skill development for our staff, because our staff has gone through a lot in transitioning into distance learning and going back into it. So we need to sort of figure out what kind of training or professional development skills we need to incorporate to teach and support our school activities. So those are just topics that to think about for the future. And you know, you can put them in the appropriate focus areas, but you have to have this kind of discussion in terms of your strategic planning. That's just an input for you. And I just wanted to throw that out so that you have that thinking behind you as you move into the next time we talk about the strategic plan. I hope that helps you.
Yes, okay.
Okay. So let me go, and then I'll call you, Ms. Mejia. So, you know, we've had a very good discussion on this strategic plan. And some of the things that we all heard is Dr. Esparza, we're asking, you're here for the long haul. So it is about, where do you see this district going in 2 years? Not what do you see, where do you want to take this district in 2 years? Where do you want to take it in 5 years? And where do you expect it to be in 10? All right. So, and I'm not going to regurgitate any of the information or comments that we heard, but I believe that if you can develop, okay, this strategic plan is developed, and I want to go back to a statement that Ms. Perez, a question that Ms. Perez was asking. The strategic plan is really developed. It's the superintendent works with staff, with her cabinet administrators, teachers, community, parents, etc. Of course, the board also has input for this, but it is the superintendent who actually puts it all together. Now, if you can, I'm making a request with board approval, you know, board's in agreement. If you can, Dr. Esparza, to provide an outline or proposal, because some of the questions that Ms. Perez raised was timelines, so that there's clear understanding. And this, everything is, you know, subject to change because it is an organic, but it also calls for reviewing and updating what we have here now, because there are some elements here that we certainly can use, which is the academic excellence, 21st century facilities, et cetera, which is what our focus is right now. So we definitely, it's revisiting the vision and developing this vision as well. Perhaps it's something that, you know, the one we have, it's may not be changed, but then again, the stakeholders will come up with a new vision if they feel that it's something that we need to do. But also in terms of, you know, the goals that Ms. Castillo was talking about, that what we have here, and this is not intended to in any way criticize what we now have, the strategic plan for 2023, but the goals that you will be developing with the staff or revising, the new goals that you're going to come up with, that they are actionable goals and not statements. So I would like to see see an outline on how this strategic plan will be developed? If you can provide it to the board, if this is with board, if the board is in agreement with that.
Dr. Marino?
Let me call Ms. Perez, and
I'm
I
sorry.
see Ms. Mejia's hand, and then you, Dr. Rivera.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Perez?
I think Ms. Mejia was before me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Ms. Mejia.
Your hand was raised before me. Arlene,
Okay.
it's okay. It's okay if you go first and then I'll go after you. Your physical hand.
Sorry, my
Oh, sorry.
sorry.
Sorry. Okay, so now that I understand a little bit more, so right now we could provide input on the proposal that we see in front of us, correct? Yeah. Okay. Sorry, it took me a while to understand the strategic plan. One thing that I would see, and I think it was already mentioned before, when they were talking about the vertical alignment, I don't see too much focus on like programs, right? Like for me, band was huge. And right now I know they don't have a band room. And so things like that, like extracurricular activities, I would love to see more of an emphasis on that and the vertical alignment that they talk about. As well as I was looking, so responding to the needs of students with learning differences. And I was like trying to see that. Actually, no, I did see that, yeah. Focus area number 3, the global citizenship and multilingual success. I'm gonna push for also coding as a language of its own. So not just, more than just Microsoft's Office and all the stuff, just coding as another language as a possibility to make sure we push for the multilingual language. And then the number 9, the 21st century facilities to enhance learning. I think it's definitely necessary to always have, your environment definitely affects students, and especially as a teacher also. But for me, 21st century learning is also more than a facility. It's providing those, the coding classes, right? At the elementary, at the middle school, again, like the vertical alignment to making sure that, coding is another language that students may need to know, or at least exposed to. So I'm just pushing for that. The coding is another language piece. That's it.
Go ahead, Esther. Teresa took a break.
Okay, no problem. So I wanted to make a suggestion. I know that our parents are getting a lot of surveys and things like that thrown at them, and unfortunately, participation has been low in the past. Although this year, I think it's improved in the sense like meetings because of Zoom. It's the accessibility. It's easier to attend meetings. But as far as surveys go, I wanted to suggest possibly looking into Thought Exchange. It's a cloud-based program that districts use, and you can have open-ended questions, but there's an algorithm that, crunches all that data. I think it would be helpful. I know that we have an amazing team already that does a lot of the data, but I think that would help turn the data around even quicker. And again, it's something so we can get more input. Definitely, I think that's something that we could possibly explore. Then regarding the strategic plan, one of the areas that is on here is the parent component. And I think it's a little bit limited. I think that we could do more. And as a matter of fact, I have like the big one. We have the condensed version here, but there's also the huge one. And that section's missing. There's no section on 5 under the actual, under the appendix. So definitely focusing on that area as well, because parents as partners is very, very important, in my opinion. And then lastly, the one we keep on talking about, the mission and the vision, I think that CSBA's facilitator, Cepeda, did a really good job with us. So if she could if the board could consider having her facilitate a session on vision, I think that would be really helpful.
Ms. Mejia, clarification, yes. Facilitate a session for the mission. Is this staff, board, everybody?
It's everybody.
Okay.
It's everybody. Stakeholders.
Stakeholders. So then it would be more like a forum, town hall?
That's something that could be discussed with the CSBA to see what the process would be, because I know that's one of the services that they also provide. But I think that she really did a really good job as far as helping facilitate some of the discussions. Not that we can't do it, but they're trained on specifically on the vision and mission sessions. So I think that would be something that would be structured, and it's a start.
If I may, it's a good start. I believe that Dr. Esparza, you also need to check with your staff about this, because staff has developed visions.
It's not about her developing, Dr. Marino. Maybe that I didn't articulate myself correctly. She wouldn't be developing anything. She's just facilitating the meeting.
No, right, I understand. What I'm trying to do here is, we're talking about another staff development, another and I'm not opposed to staff development, but we're talking about another session with CSBA and bringing in stakeholders, and I'm not certain, and I may be wrong, how receptive this will be to, before we start on the strategic, it's the delay of the strategic plan, because now we're looking at another session to begin developing or reviewing that vision. I'm just having reservations on that. I don't know how the board feels. Let me call Dr. Rivera. How do you feel about that? Or Ms. Castillo, Ms. Perez? If the board's in agreement, absolutely.
Actually, I wanted to bring up something else. That's okay.
Oh, right. Okay. Is it related to?
Well, no, we were talking about the strategic plan here. Everybody was adding their input here. But one of the things that I was thinking here.
I'm sorry. Let me apologize. Ms. Mejia, you still had the floor. Ms. Dr. Rivera, hold your thoughts. Ms. Mejia, let me go back to you.
Yeah, no, I agree. It should be, there should be consensus if we want to explore it. I was just suggesting it to explore that possibility. We can get, it doesn't have to happen. It's just exploring like how the process would be.
Oh, okay. I understand that. Okay, very good. Thank you. So let me, Dr. Rivera, you were saying.
No, well, I was thinking about this, and we were all talking about the academic program and stuff, but I'm not sure if the strategic plan I don't see the strategic plan like an academic plan. I see the strategic plan as a focus plan for academics and where we want to get, but I'm also thinking we need an academic plan for the district to say, if a child enters kindergarten here by third grade, in the El Rancho School District, third graders should be able to achieve this. By sixth grade, they should be able to achieve this. By eighth grade, they should be able to achieve this. Once they get to high school, they should be able to participate through the A through G program, and anything else like that. So I'm not sure if the strategic plan can be developed to address it like that, Dr. Esparza, or I'm seeing it as a two separate things. And am I right? Am I wrong? What do you have to say about that?
I think the academic piece would be a key component when I think about it, like what you're talking about. I'm thinking LCAP. I'm also thinking like what we get on the dashboard in regards to assessments and where our students, what standards our students need to master. I think the strategic plan should be balanced, and it should have a hearty academic piece to it.
Yeah.
And like Ms. Castillo said, and I'm not, commenting negatively on what was created, but it is a lot of statements, and it really needs to have, if it's a statement, it should be an actionable statement. And we should be able to say, okay, we met this. We meet with the board quarterly or mid-year or at the end of the year. Where are we with this actionable goal? And I think it should be a part of this a strategic plan. That way, it won't just be that document that is just put on the shelf or put on the desk where parents walk into the school and they can look at it if they want. It's actually something that everybody needs to work off of. It also will be able to help with everyone's evaluation, from my evaluation to my staff's evaluation, especially CIA, and working with the academics piece.
So this is what I'm thinking. So I think developmentally, we can look at the focus areas in terms of academics, where we can say all students who enter the Rancho, kindergarten program by 3rd grade should be able to do this, so on and so forth, right? In terms of focus areas, but then there would be another plan that would tell us exactly how we would do that.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was thinking, because if we made it an academic plan, then it'd be the whole document.
Right. That's true.
But I think that if we on the focus areas, we say, that by 3rd grade, they should achieve this, by 6th grade and so on, and we take a developmental approach to learning, then, that would seem more realistic. I mean, not criticizing what's there right now, but I think that if we were to provide something like that, it would be more realistic, and it would really provide us, true goals where we want to achieve.
Right. And I think that goes back to the whole identifying what our vision is, the overarching vision over the district, from academics to fiscal to facilities, and making sure that we have a really strong mission statement. And in that mission statement, we have 1 or 2 ways that we're going to take action for each of these focus areas. So the way I've been trained was that we have our vision, and it's basically, where do we want to go? Where do we want to be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? And our mission are the steps on how we're going to get there. And that incorporates our core values on why we're going to get there at the time that we state that we're going to get there. So I was trained by Stephen Covey. And so sometimes people put the mission before the vision, and I feel like it's the cart before the horse. And so I think we really need to come back and really look at a strong vision so that we can put in a vision that's actionable.
Thank you, Dr. Esparza. Just give me a second, Ms. Perez. Ms. Mejia, let me qualify and clarify what I said earlier, because when you were proposing about this session with a facilitator, simply because, I'm thinking, I want us to be so careful not to insert ourselves, and maybe I'm off base here, with the board not to insert itself in terms of how the superintendent should approach the development of the strategic plan. So I wanted to validate your recommendation, your input, but it comes again from, I just want to make sure that because, the Figment hit us real hard, how the board inserted itself. And I'm being very cautious just to make sure that we're not, and I know you're not doing that, but what I said, and this the reason why I was hesitant, it was because I just don't want to see the board inserting itself. It's great you're making a recommendation, we're making recommendations to Dr. Esparza, but Dr. Esparza, I know you're very much aware that we provide direction in many areas, but when it comes to responsibilities within your scope of work, that's you. You just bring your recommendations to the board. Does this make sense, Ms. Mejia?
It does. It does, but at the same time, I don't think I was inserting myself. At least that wasn't my intention.
No, I'm sorry. Okay, I see what I communicated, you didn't receive it. And I believe that's some of our issues here. Not that you were inserting yourself, that what I said was because I said, oh my God, is this something if we go ahead and approve it, that we are actually inserting ourselves? That's not because you said it. It's just that I what I said was, because I just want to make sure we don't insert ourselves. Does that make sense? Did you get my, did that clarify it? Because I was not stating that you were inserting yourself. I just don't want us to, I want us to be very clear with Dr. Esparza.
Yeah, and if I may,
Yes.
the only thing for me is I think that the mission and the vision are super important.
Okay.
And I just wanted to make sure that it's structured.
Oh,
It
okay.
it doesn't have to be CSBA. It could be internal, but I just want to make sure that it's structured.
Okay.
Like Ms. Perez has said, timelines and making sure that you have plenty of stakeholder input, opportunities. It's not something that is just, I mean, again, it's super important, and I can't stress that enough. And we all know that it is. So it was a suggestion. Doesn't have to, and again, it was to see like what would that entail, and we don't have to go there if the board doesn't even want to consider it, or the superintendent, because of course it's a suggestion that I wouldn't want to impose on anyone.
Yeah.
It was just a suggestion. But
I wanted to validate your input.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And I was just concerned that what I said came across like, no, we don't want this. That was not my intent. So I wanted to clarify that, okay?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I believe it was Ms. Perez and Ms. Castillo, do you still have your hand up?
Yeah, that's my hand up.
Okay, but Ms. Perez, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mrs. Mejia. I think that you have to have a mission and vision in order. The plan at the end of the day is to, to create the objective. I'm just thinking teacher phase, right? You create your objectives, you create your plan and how you're going to execute them. But before even then, you kind of need, you need a mission and vision. So I agree with Mrs. Mejia that whether we're going to stick to the current mission and vision that we have, or we are going to alter it. And I do want to throw in, I know we talked about it at the board retreat, like a book club. There is a book called Strategy in Action, and it talks exactly about this, about, because I see the proposal and it's great, but for me, it's like, that's so many objectives. How are we going to get to everything? Are we going to have focus? Are we going to have deadlines? So my brain is just like, okay, but within the first year, which ones are we going to hit? And then year two, which ones are we? So I think creating that plan to what we're going to do, I think is also needed. And so that's why I agree with Mrs. Mejia. I think we need the mission, the vision, and we need to figure out, what are we going to focus on a district where everybody from the students to the teachers, to the staff, to the board, everyone is on the same page and we know exactly what we're focusing on. That would just be my input.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Ms. Castillo?
I just wanted to make an overall comment that it's very difficult for us as a board to, and I guess the right word is not insert ourselves, because what we want to do is provide information that some people perceived as inserting ourselves, and we don't think it is, but the perception is out there that's different. So I think it's a tightrope that we walk, and sometimes we skip. And I think that we don't always know when we're skipping from one side to the other, but I think that everybody's intention is to provide information so that those people involved can at least get I wouldn't say a new perspective, but more information for their decision making. And I sometimes feel that we get caught in that we can't say a word, but in reality, we're not, we may be interfering, but what we're trying to do is maybe convey some information that it's not readily out there. And sometimes I think that we have a difficult time between that. So, so people need to be patient with all of us on figuring out when do we skip and when do we need to run back on our own side of the street. So that's just my comment, because I know that, Esther was trying to, was making some very good suggestions, but the key is sometimes, the suggestions are misinterpreted. And so in my case, they are as well. So don't feel bad. So it works to all of us. But anyway, but I do think that this discussion has been good because with the strategic planning, it is a process. It will take time. We need stakeholder input. Our input is important, just like I gave, just to say, what have we run across or experienced? Like Arlene with the coding part of it, that is part of the digital fluency that people need in the future. And you're a big supporter and a force behind that to remind us. So keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you, Castillo. Yes, Dr. Rivera.
Yes, thank you. I know it sounds challenging, the task, but it's not impossible, and I'll tell you why. All of our schools and school districts have to go through accreditation process. And the accreditation process trains you how to do this. And the first thing that the accreditation asks you to do is collect your data. Data from your stakeholders, from your students, from your academics. And from that data, the vision and the mission is created. And from that data, the goals and objectives is what leads the schools in terms of what needs to be done, in terms to be addressed, in terms of the academic program or any other program that needs attention at the school. So if we follow such model, and I'm sorry for my dog, if we follow such model, it's not impossible to do. You know, it's challenging, but it's not about stop it. So.
Wants you to pick them up.
Yes, he does.
He's saying data.
He's saying, hey, this is
he's just saying ditto to what I'm saying.
That's funny. Okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Rivera. Okay. Dr. Esparza, we haven't heard from you in a while.
Writing everything down. Making sure I have a good outline for year 2, 5, and 10. Again, you'd like me to provide a proposal for the update with the vision, mission, actionable items. Make sure they're not statements. I know there's coding that needs to be brought in. I will look into thought exchange. I know that there are, different CSBA supports. I could also look into access supports for some of this work in regards to vision and mission. And all of our cabinet members are a part of AXA. And so it will be able to help us really, dig our feet and our hands into it and make sure that we provide a good proposal, a really well thought out proposal, either in May or June, so we can start writing over the summer, making sure that we're gathering all that data too.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Esparza. Okay, board members, you have additional comments or recommendations, suggestions? Okay. We had a very good discussion. I am just, this feeling good. I believe we pretty much gave you direction, Dr. Esparza. You get a good feel about the strategic plan and that it's really something that you'll be working with staff and the administrators, teachers, etc. But as a board, as a governing team, we had a very good discussion, probably one of the best we've had. And not only the governing team, but us with the superintendent. It was very good, very positive and very helpful for all of us and enlightening because, we were able to hear from each other and this helped you have a better understanding of where the board is looking to take the district. And more importantly, we're asking you for the 2, 5, and 10 year where you want to take this district. So that's a good sense of, stability for all of us that we need here in our district. So if there are no additional comments, I want to thank everyone for this meeting and for your time, and especially to staff who are on spring break. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. But these conversations are definitely very important that just cannot be held. Otherwise, we'd be having our regular board meetings till midnight like we used to. But anyway, so if there are not, okay, I see thumbs up. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So with that, I would like to now move on to item number 6, which is adjournment. I do need a motion, please.
So moved.
Ms.
Second.
Mejia and Dr. Rivera. I'll take this to a vote. Ms. Castillo. Adjourn. She doesn't want to adjourn. Ms. Castillo, do you want to adjourn?
Yes. I'm getting phone calls.
Ms. Mejia,
Yes.
Ms. Perez. You want to adjourn?
Yes, sorry, yes.
Dr. Rivera.
Yes.
I mean, yes. 5-0 to adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your evening. It's still early, 2.5 hours. I think that's good. Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you,
everyone.
Ms. Parsley. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Go Dodgers.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, yes.
Esther, I love your Zoom background, by the way. Love the quote.
National Library Week.
Oh,
I love it.
Yeah.
Tell me the quote. I can't see it.
Oh, it says, books are the plane and the train and the road. They are the destinations and the journey. They are home.
All right.
I don't know. I don't think you could see the back of my shirt, but it was
Move
from,
your hair. Oh.
oh, nice.
it's the same
Okay.
quote. It was
Ah.
Teen Read Week at El Rancho last week. Miss
Awesome.
Metaxas, she did
Okay.
an event.
We should do that, like Zoom background, like get your favorite book or some type of, because this background is.
I know. You get to see what I have here in my little study room. But thank you, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.